Hey everyone, and welcome back to Real World English, the podcast where we talk about real life, real situations, and of course, real English. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Fred. And today we are getting into something that I think a lot of people can relate to. Like, this one really hit home for me when we were planning it.
Same. So, the topic today is, and I love this title, The Day I Stopped Explaining Myself to Everyone. Which sounds a bit dramatic, right? Like some big life-changing moment.
It does. It sounds like the title of a self-help book you'd find at the airport.
Exactly. But honestly, it kind of is a big deal. Because so many of us, and I'm definitely guilty of this, spend so much time and energy justifying our choices to other people. Like explaining why we did something, why we didn't do something, why we said no, why we said yes.
Yeah, it's exhausting when you think about it. And by the way, if you're learning English, Hannah just used a great phrase there. Hit home. She said this topic hit home for me. That means it felt very personal and relevant, like it touched something true in your own life. So if a story or a song really connects with you, you can say, that really hit home.
Ooh, good catch, Fred. Yeah, hit home. I love that phrase. So, okay, let me start with a story. And this is, I'm not even embarrassed to say this anymore, but this is something I used to do constantly. So imagine you decide not to go to a party. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're introverted. Maybe you just really want to stay home and watch something on Netflix. Whatever the reason.
Very relatable. Very, very relatable.
Right? And someone texts you, "Hey, why didn't you come?" And instead of just saying, "Oh, I needed a rest," you end up writing this whole paragraph, like, "Well, I had a really long week, and I wasn't feeling great, and I thought about coming, but then the weather was bad, and I also had to wake up early the next day."
Oh no, I've done this. I've 100% done this.
We all have. And the thing is, nobody asked for that whole explanation. They just asked a simple question.
It's like you over-justify. That's actually a really useful word. To justify means to give reasons for something, to explain why it was the right thing to do. And when you over-justify, you give way more reasons than necessary. Like you're trying to convince a judge that you're innocent.
Yes, exactly that feeling. Like you're on trial. And I think the reason we do it is, at least for me, it was because I didn't want people to think badly of me. I wanted everyone to understand me, to approve of my choices.
And that need for approval? It's so human, right? Like, we're social creatures. We care what people think. But at some point, it becomes a problem.
A big problem. Because you can't control what people think. No matter how much you explain, some people are just going to have their opinion. And spending all your energy trying to manage that is, I mean, it's draining. It takes a lot out of you.
And there's a great expression for that. It takes a lot out of you. It means something uses up your energy or your emotional strength. Like if you have a really difficult conversation, you might say afterwards, that really took a lot out of me. Good one to remember. So Hannah, when did you first notice this pattern in yourself? Like, was there a specific moment?
Yeah, actually, there was. It wasn't one big, dramatic event. It was more like a gradual realization. But there was this one moment that kind of crystallized it for me. I was at a family dinner, and I'd made a career decision that some people in my family weren't thrilled about. And I remember sitting there for like 2 hours, trying to explain and defend myself, going around the table, addressing everyone's concerns.
Oh, that sounds exhausting.
It was, and at the end of it, I just felt hollow, like empty. And the worst part? Nobody's mind was changed. They still had their doubts, and I thought, what was the point of all that?
Wow, yeah, that's the moment, isn't it? When you realize the explaining didn't even work.
Exactly. And it made me question, am I explaining for them? Or am I explaining because I don't fully trust my own decision?
Okay, that's deep. Say that again.
I mean, I think sometimes we over-explain because deep down, we're not fully confident in our own choices. So we're looking for other people to validate us, to say, yes, you made the right call.
To validate. Okay. And if you're learning English, this is a word worth knowing. To validate someone means to confirm that their feelings or decisions are okay, that they're acceptable. Like, I just need someone to validate my choice. It's used a lot in emotional contexts, not just formal ones.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with wanting that sometimes. But when you need it from everyone all the time, that's when it becomes a trap.
I had a similar, well, kind of different experience. Mine was more in friendships. So I went through a phase where I was saying no to a lot of social things. I was dealing with some personal stuff and I just needed space. And every time I said no to someone, I felt like I owed them this big explanation.
Yeah.
And some people were fine with it. They were like, no worries, hope you're okay. But there were a few people who, I don't know, they kind of pushed back. Like they wanted more information. And I remember thinking, why do I feel guilty for not going to trivia night?
Trivia night, the ultimate low-stakes social obligation.
The lowest stakes possible. And yet, there I was, apologizing and explaining like I'd canceled their wedding. And I think that's when I started to understand. My presence somewhere is not an obligation. Like, I get to choose where I spend my time and energy.
And that's actually that phrase, low stakes. Oh, Fred used it just a second ago. Low stakes means the consequences aren't very serious. The opposite is high stakes, which is when a lot depends on the outcome. So, a job interview is high stakes. Trivia night with friends? Low stakes.
Unless you're very competitive.
Unless you're very competitive, yes. So, let's talk about the shift, because I think this is the interesting part. Like, there's a moment where you go from always explaining yourself to just, not anymore. What does that actually look like?
For me, it started really small. Someone asked why I wasn't drinking at a party, because I was on medication at the time. And instead of telling them all of that, I just said, I'm good with water tonight, thanks. And I waited for the uncomfortable feeling to come. And it kind of didn't. Like, I'd been dreading that moment for so long. And when it came, it was fine. The person just said, cool, and moved on.
And that's the thing. Most people don't actually need the explanation. We build it up in our heads.
Totally. And once I realized that, I started practicing it more. Just giving shorter answers, not filling every silence with justification.
I love that. Filling the silence with justification. That's such a real description of what we do. Because silence feels awkward, right? So we talk more to fill it. But sometimes silence is actually fine.
Being comfortable with silence. That's a skill. It takes practice.
It does. And I think the other thing that changed for me was I stopped seeing no as something I needed to justify. Like, no is a complete sentence. You don't have to add a reason every time.
Oh, and there's a phrase that comes up a lot in this kind of conversation. No is a complete sentence. If you're learning English and you're not familiar with that idea, it means that saying no by itself is enough. You don't need to apologize for it or explain it. It's used to encourage people to set boundaries. And by the way, set boundaries means to decide what you will and won't accept from others. I'm learning to set better boundaries at work. Really useful phrase.
Super useful. And honestly, for a lot of English learners, and for learners of any language, saying no politely but firmly can feel really hard. Because the language of refusal can feel rude if you're not sure how to phrase it. So, knowing expressions like, I'll have to pass on that, or that doesn't work for me, they let you say no without being blunt or harsh.
Ooh, blunt, meaning very direct, sometimes to the point of being a little rude. Like if someone says, I don't like your haircut, with no softening, that's blunt.
Okay, so I want to bring up the counter argument here because I think some people listening might be thinking, but wait, isn't it a bit selfish to just stop explaining yourself? Like, don't we owe people some level of transparency?
That's a fair point. And I think there's a difference between being in a relationship, whether that's a friendship, a partnership, a family, where open communication actually matters, and just, random acquaintances or people on the internet.
Right. Like, if you're in a committed relationship and you make a big decision that affects your partner, yeah, you probably should explain your thinking. That's just respect.
Exactly. It's about context. You're not applying this to everyone equally. It's more about you stop seeking approval from people who don't actually need to approve anything.
Yes, like your friends from school who you see twice a year don't need a full account of your life choices. But your partner, your close friends, your family, communication there still matters.
And I think the word is discernment. Knowing who deserves your explanation and who doesn't. It's like being selective about where you spend your emotional energy.
Discernment. That's a lovely word. And it's slightly advanced. So if you're at an upper intermediate level, definitely add this one to your vocabulary. Discernment means the ability to judge well, to tell the difference between situations and respond appropriately. Like, she showed a lot of discernment in choosing her business partners. It suggests wisdom and good judgment.
Love that word. It's the kind of word that makes you sound really thoughtful.
Very sophisticated.
Okay, so practically speaking, for anyone who kind of recognizes themselves in this conversation, what are some actual things you can do?
I mean, I think the first thing is just noticing, like catching yourself in the act. When you're about to write that long text explaining why you can't make it somewhere, just pause. Ask yourself, am I explaining because this person genuinely needs to know? Or am I explaining because I feel guilty?
That's a good filter. And I'd add, start with low-stakes situations. Like Fred said earlier, practice saying a short no or a short reason in a situation where it doesn't really matter. Build up the muscle.
Yes, build up the muscle. I love that metaphor. Like, confidence in your own decisions is something you develop, like a physical muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And I think the last thing, and maybe the hardest, is accepting that some people won't understand your choices. And that's okay. You can't control other people's reactions. You can only control your own actions.
which easier said than done, right? That phrase, easier said than done, means something sounds simple when you describe it, but is actually hard in practice. Exercising every day, easier said than done. It's such a common expression and really natural in conversation.
Very natural, and very true in this case.
Very true. Okay, I think we should wrap this one up. But honestly, what a conversation. I feel like we've been very honest in this episode.
Yeah, a little vulnerable, but in a good way.
In the best way. All right, before we go, let's do our words and phrases segment. Okay, so this is the part of the show where Fred and I go back over some of the best expressions from today's episode. Nice and easy, just a quick reminder of the good stuff.
All right, first one, and this was right at the top of the episode. To hit home. If something hits home, it feels personally relevant or emotionally true. Like, that documentary about food waste really hit home. I throw away so much bread.
Such a good one. Next, to over-justify. To justify something means to explain why it was the right decision. But to over-justify means you give way too many reasons, more than anyone asked for. He over-justified why he was 10 minutes late. Nobody needed a 5-minute story.
We've all been there. Okay, number 3. To validate. To validate someone or something means to confirm it's okay, acceptable, or correct. Emotionally, we often use it like this. I don't need your validation. I'm happy with my choice. Or the opposite. I just needed someone to validate how I was feeling.
Great one. Number 4. Low stakes versus high stakes. Low stakes means the consequences aren't serious. High stakes means a lot is on the line. A first date is high stakes. Choosing what to have for lunch? Low stakes.
Unless it's a really important lunch.
Unless. Okay, number 5. To set boundaries. This means deciding what behavior you will and won't accept from others, and communicating that. It's used a lot in psychology and personal development. I had to set some boundaries with my manager about working on weekends.
Really useful phrase, especially in professional and personal contexts. And last one, easier said than done. This is a classic expression that means something sounds simple to describe, but is actually difficult to do. Forgiving people is easier said than done. You'll hear this one all the time in natural English conversation.
Perfect. So that's 6 phrases for today. Hit home, over-justify, validate, low stakes and high stakes, set boundaries, and easier said than done. Try to use at least one of them this week. Seriously, pick one and find a moment to use it.
That's the real-world challenge.
The Real World English Challenge. All right, thank you so much for listening to Real World English. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe someone who also writes very long apology texts.
You know who you are.
We'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, everyone.